is absurd. Like, even if people are just popping up from the dead all the time, I doubt that they predict their own.
It's like if Spider-Man said, "Hey, I'm gonna like sling a web, and if I do this, I'm the son of God." Is Spider-Man now the son of God because he can sling webs?
No, but if Spider-Man says, "I'm the son of God, I'm gonna die and come back from the dead," and he dies and comes back from the dead, then yeah, I'm gonna believe that Spider-Man's the son of God.
Even if that's true, that it was like a good evidence, which I don't even grant you. It obviously, granted, well, let's not say good evidence, given it or strong evidence, it's still not doing really much in the grand, like the net probability of Christian theism.
Well, what do atheists believe in then?
They don't believe in anything.
What do you mean?
It's like a weird question.
Oh, my bad. I was just thinking.
Yeah.
I think that even if you look away from the resurrection, obviously like the resurrection is like the meat and the bones of everything, because he died on the cross, paid the price for sin, and then he said he was going to.
So if you just said all the miracles in the Bible were true, that wouldn't even build a good case for Christian theism either. So
Why
like
Many other things.
just all of them, like just the aggregate of like miracles to consider, that wouldn't offer good motivations to think Christian theism is true.
Because there's many other things in the Bible that was described that will happen on this earth, and it did happen. But like, you never know; it could be a coincidence. But like, it's a lot of things that was said in the Bible that did happen, like natural like events and stuff like that.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to like disregard your point. I just want to backtrack for a second. You think that like why do you say that even if all the miracles happen, even if what the Bible's saying is true, then Christian theism doesn't hold up? Because that's literally what Christian theism is.
Oh.
Like, are you just saying that you just...
No, if you have all that datum, one is that even if you have all that datum, it's still not clear how that's overcompensating the priors of theism. I would think that all that information is still really unlikely for theism to be true. But even if that were wrong, the point just is you could just have an explanation that better captures that datum.
Yeah, like a better explanation could just be like humans are wrong about their understanding of like certain natural laws.
So he wiped mud on a man's eyes, and then he saw. A man that had never walked in his life was... Well, I don't know if he never walked in his life, but he hadn't walked in a while. Was dropped down on a mat.
I think there's this one really bad... Like the hypothesis that's all explained by aliens, that's like a really bad hypothesis, and it's still better than theism.
Okay. So
he's right.
Just give this like paradigmatic example, right? And it always succeeds on how aliens is just a better explanation than theism.
So why is aliens a better explanation than theism?
Yeah, so if we have the hypothesis there's aliens with the technological capabilities of producing all the miraculous feats attested to in the Bible, and they have the utmost desire to do so, as well as they have like the rational faculties to which they can like understand what's expected if Christianity were true, all the expectations, then that accommodates all the miracle accounts, right? And that hypothesis is preferred because one, it's more likely before considering the datum, to which the datum is equal evidence for both. So it's kind of like two theories having the same speed, yet one has a head start. So obviously,
technically God is winning. He doesn't live on Earth. He's outside of space and time. And
no, that's just equivocating on alien. Aliens exist in space time. God doesn't. Aliens are embodied organisms. God's not an organism, and is a disembodied spirit. God, like that's clearly that's almost like so stupid when people say stuff like this. That's clearly not the folk. That's clearly not the folk conception of alien that anyone has whenever speaking about aliens. That a mindless spirit that can cause universes to come to be is like any notion of an alien.
So he causes universes to be, but he's mindless? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you think that... I didn't say mindless.
Oh, I thought you said mindless.
I said disembodied.
Are you sure?
He doesn't have a body.
He doesn't have a body.
Well, you're just equivocating on
physical
body. By
body.
body, we mean like spatial extension.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. He doesn't have a physical body. I agree. But I
Yeah, whatever sense of body that is just not the relevant sense of body, right? All minds we're aware of in our background have the folk concept of bodies, and given God doesn't have that, it's less likely there's a being of the such.
I disagree strongly with you saying that even aliens is a better explanation than God being there, because if you look at the Bible, you know what I mean? It's a complete story from start to finish of God created the earth, sin was born, God handled sin, and he's going to handle the sinners later.
Where did I go wrong in my reasoning then?
You said what?
Where do I go wrong in the reasoning?
Because it's literally saying, he's literally saying, I am God, I am here, and you're just being, no, aliens.
That's the datum that's to be explained. The fact he's claiming that is the fact that you can explain alternatively, differently, right? And
But
you're just saying, what do you mean there's no need to do that?
Because God has given us without reasonable
That's
doubt.
just question begging. You're just question begging. You're just assuming Christian theism. The point is we have these facts, and we can explain these facts a range of ways, right? And there's a specific way we should believe in it, given our available information, right? And I'm saying that we shouldn't believe it's Christian theism.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. What I'm saying is, God said, I'm going to send my son to die. He sent his son to die, and then his son came back to life.
Well, the Bible says that. To say that God said that's kind of question begging again.
It's not question begging. Isaiah 53. I'll go through.
No, it's question begging to. In order for him to say that, of course, he would have to exist.
But he doesn't.
Yeah, and that's question begging.
Surely, Isaiah 53 verse 4. Surely he took up our pain, bore our suffering.
You're just like not tracking. The point is we're trying to infer the existence of God, right? And you're trying to infer them from the miracles. I'm saying given the type of inferential strategy you're using, a better explanation would actually be aliens, right? But now you're just saying like, oh, well, we shouldn't prefer the aliens because God just exists. Like,
No, that's not what
makes
I'm saying.
sense.
I'm saying God has shown us that he exists and that he is God. So it's foolish to say it's just aliens, because he's shown us and told us that he is God.
Yeah, well, that's just the question beggingness.
It's not question begging.
It's question begging to say that God showed us that he exists. Of course it is.
He's not.
No,
Look,
that's
question
what
begging does not mean like you're actually begging a question. He's pointing out.
Maybe he doesn't even know what question begging is. You're just like, you're not offering any reasons to accept any of the premises. The premises
Right,
are
and
like identical to the
offered-
conclusion.
Yes, I know. I offered a reasoning. You know, God sent he said he was going to send his son to die for us, and then he sent his son and
But
died.
that's question begging.
No,
Look,
it's not.
Listen, the hot dog. You
Yes,
can't
it is.
start with God.
Look,
you have to.
if
you
I
have to show-
don't accept the proposition that a God exists, why? It's not even logically possible that I accept that God sent his son, because that requires God to exist. So if you're saying the
you don't want God
reason,
to
the reason, just listen.
I'm
The
listening.
reason to think a God exists is because he sent his son. That's question begging, because I can only affirm that consistently as a reason, given that it's true that God exists, which obviously I'm not granting.
Yeah, so you have to. You can't start with God. You have to end with God. So you have to show that God exists.
So
No, let's just go back to the alien stuff, right? So my point is that the aliens are more likely and they're more parsimonious. And what I mean by that is they're like ontologically simpler. They don't commit you to new types of existences.
right.
Aliens are natural organisms. God's supernatural. So given aliens are more likely and that they're more simpler, they're a better explanation than theism.
But that still does not check out, because, like I said, you're saying, oh, you literally said, okay. So even
When you
if we
say it doesn't
all
check
of
out, what does that
can I
mean?
speak? Can I
But
speak?
what does it mean when you speak by clarifying? When you say
Yes,
it doesn't check
I am.
out,
I'm gonna
what does
get
that mean?
I'm gonna get.
Hey, you weren't going to explain that until I put it into question. You're acting as if you were already explaining what
How
you
did you
meant
know
by
that?
check out.
You didn't even know what I was gonna say.
Yeah, of course you weren't going to clarify, given I never asked for clarity, right? Let's not lie, right?
Okay.
So look, just when you say
I'll
it doesn't, When you say it doesn't check out, just what does that mean?
It does not make sense. Like if you think about it, point A to point B, it does not make
When
sense.
you say it doesn't make sense, are you just saying you're not understanding?
No, it does not logically make sense. Here's why.
And when you say it doesn't logically make sense, what is that saying? Are you saying that I'm going wrong in the reasoning?
Yes, and I'm going to. Can I explain myself?
So where exactly do I go wrong in the reasoning?
Can I explain myself? Cool. So you were saying even if we grant the miracles, even if we this, that, and the other, aliens are a better explanation. If you grant the miracles, and if you're saying, okay, even if all of this is true, right? And then I say, okay, well, he said, you know, he
Sorry,
said,
the question was, where do I go wrong in the reasoning?
I'm explaining that.
Look, do you understand my let's just get, because
Yes,
I'm not
I
even convinced you understand my reasoning.
I understand what you're saying. You're saying that it makes more
Yeah,
sense to be aliens.
Yeah, I'm not convinced you understand my reasoning. So what exactly is the
You're not even
reasoning
letting
I
me
offered?
talk, man. You're not even letting me talk.
What exactly is the reasoning I offered?
Your reasoning was that it makes more sense for it to be aliens than God because aliens aren't supernatural, right?
Wait, that doesn't... No, obviously that's like a horrible way of characterizing what I'm saying. Saying that they're not supernatural doesn't offer you any reason to think that that's a worse off explanation.
You said it was a better explanation because they're not supernatural. Which one is it?
And why did I say that? That's not informing you the reasons to think that it's better given it's non-supernatural.
You're just talking, man. Like, respectfully.
Yeah, now you're just doing meta and not engaging. The question is, right, you're saying you're understanding my reasoning, and you're saying that you recall me saying that's a better explanation because they're non-supernatural. But why is it that I said that it's a better explanation given it's not supernatural?
Because you don't believe in God. And you don't want to believe in God.
That
No,
doesn't
no,
make
no.
any sense.
Why is it?
Look,
You're
I
asking me, and you're the one who said it.
I said in when you're reasoning explanatorily, right, that type of inferential strategy, there's certain heuristics or virtues that go into theory building that makes a theory more preferred. And I said one of them we can consider is parsimony, which means when a theory is ontologically simpler, it's a preferred theory. And I said my theory is ontologically simpler because it's not committing you to supernatural entities, which is a new type of existence. We share a background of information that there's natural entities. We don't share that there's supernatural entities. God has the property of being supernatural. Therefore, it's ontologically more expensive, right? So it's actually a dispreferred theory.
So it makes
That's
more sense.
That's one of the reasons in favor of the aliens.
Okay. It makes more sense for it to be aliens because God is supernatural, and that makes less sense than a natural being. That's what you're saying.
It doesn't make less sense. That's
It's
not
just
what I'm
simple.
saying.
It's just simpler.
I'm saying that it's a basic theoretical virtue to have a more simpler theory, right?
Okay.
And I'm saying the type of
Simple theory to
simplicity
make its
is,
point.
yeah.
Okay. Cool. Earlier, you said even if I grant you the miracles, even if I grant you the resurrection. So I was moving.
Do we disagree about that reason so far?
Huh? I think that it doesn't really matter if it's simpler or not simpler. I think that that makes it easier to digest or not digest. But the truth is the truth.
No,
And
that's
matters.
you're just confused.
No.
You're just confused. Yeah, saying no doesn't do anything. The point is, the parsimony is not merely some random thing that I'm like utilizing to discount theism. It's a standard. It's a standard philosophical device affirmed by all of those in philosophical literature and science, including theists. And I'm saying the fact that this is a virtue had for the aliens is a reason against theism, right?
Did you hear what I said though?
You're saying that it doesn't matter because it sounds like some aesthetic thing about a theory where it's just more digestible or something stupid like that. No, that's not right. Right? Theoretical virtues are epistemic motivators, meaning that they actually offer you reasons. They're not like, oh, it's just like a more easy to comprehend theory. It's actually justification that a theory is preferred over. It's actually justification that a theory is preferred over another. Evidentially.
Even the epistemic.
You're not listening. You discredit the parsimony thing because you're construing it as an aesthetic type of virtue. That it just looks better, is more comprehensible.
You're just saying.
Look, the point is, the point is that parsimonious theories are theories that are preferred over non-parsimonious theories.
Okay.
Right? That's a justification for a theory being true over another.
Okay.
Okay, and my theory has that, therefore it's preferred over yours. That's one reason. Now, do you disagree that mine's is more parsimonious? There shouldn't be. It's almost trivially true.
I don't think it matters if
there.
it's more parsimonious or not.
You're just
It
giving
matters because in the context of justifying a theory over another, if a theory is more parsimonious, then that's a justification that it's the correct theory, or at least
If the theory has more
it's
evidence
correct.
than
It's a correct
another,
theory in an epistemic context.
right? But if one theory has more evidence than another theory, then the one that has the most evidence is going to be the one that makes the most sense.
No, but both theories have equal evidence going for it.
No,
Yeah, they do.
they do not.
Look, evidence is what a hypothesis expects, that if true makes it more likely.
Mm-hmm.
Both aliens and theism expect the exact same datum, such that they have equal evidence going
Not
for
the
them.
same data. If you look
What
at
is
just
what is one data that's expected on theism that's not expected on aliens?
prophecy?
Idiot. Just listen.
Bro, you gotta
The
check.
aliens hypothesis is the hypothesis that they're aware of every expectation on Christian theism, and they aim to deceive you. So if they know that that's an evidence for Christian theism, and they have the technological capabilities to bring that to fruition, they will to deceive you. They're literally, the hypothesis is a correspondence in expectations. They're literally doing everything you would think to be true that offers evidence for Christianity to deceive you. There's not a single thing they're not cognizant of that's an evidence for Christianity that they can't not produce and are aware of, such that they will produce everything that Christianity expects in light of deceiving humanity of Christianity. That's the hypothesis. So if something's expected on Christian theism, it's transitively also expected on aliens, because they are doing everything that's expected on Christian theism, meaning that there couldn't be evidence for theism that's not evidence for aliens.
Just because you say something doesn't make it true.
Yeah, obviously I'm not saying that, genius. Where am I going wrong in my reasoning? I've explained succinctly how they actually offer the same evidence. This is actually kind of obvious. Now, what's wrong about
You're
that?
not letting me talk, like dead ass, bro. Please.
Understand how they have the same evidence?
Yes, I understand what you're saying. They have the same evidence because aliens are deceivers and whatnot. The point is that you're just saying, oh, well, all the evidence is just aliens, and that is the strongest. No, I don't know.
No,
if that's
I'm
the strongest.
saying that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there's two hypotheses that explain the datum, right? And the datum is equal evidence for both, right? And I'm saying the reason we should prefer them is because even though they have equal evidence, the aliens are more likely and before the evidence, such that they have a head start theoretically, and they're more simpler.
Okay, but you could literally do that with anything, and then there's like the reason why would the aliens do that? Oh, there's aliens that are deceiving all of humanity into thinking that they're safe. Can I speak?
Let's just get this clear. Let's just get this point clear. So you don't disagree they have equal evidence, right?
I disagree that they have equal evidence.
So you're saying something's expected on theism that's not expected on Christianity.
Yes.
Or sorry, something is expected on Christianity, not expected on aliens. Okay, so what's one thing that's expected on Christian theism that's not expected on aliens? One thing.
God loved us. He sent his son to die for us. We have eternal life. That being true. Because if it
You're
were
just
aliens that
no,
were
no,
deceiving-
It needs to be
No, no.
explained.
No, you're just telling me the Christian narrative. I'm saying what's a mere look. I'm saying
Right.
of all the facts in the Bible, which we're talking about miracles. So what's one miracle that's not evidence for aliens? Right? Because I granted you all the miracles, and you put into question how is that not sufficient in establishing theism? And I said aliens can explain all that datum. And you're saying that there's some miracle that's not expected on aliens yet.
Okay, but
The
you're
hypothesis,
telling me
yet the hypothesis, but the hypothesis literally is that aliens are aware of everything that's expected on Christianity, and they have the power to do that, and they want to deceive you. So why? There's not going to be a single thing that you can name, right? Because if you can name it, they also can name it. They can do it. They will do it because they want to deceive.
Okay.
I already explained this.
All I'm hearing,
I already explained there's a correspondence in expectation,
yes.
such that they have the same evidence, and you even signed off on that. And now you're walking it back. So now that we should be
Fine.
clear
We'll
they're
agree
clearly
on that. We'll agree on that. Fine.
they're clear. Okay, so now they have the same evidence.
All I'm
Okay.
hearing is
And
that
you
the
did
historical
agree.
evidence is
Well,
too
hold on.
strong, so you're turning to aliens to disprove.
You did agree. You did agree that one's actually more parsimonious, the aliens, right?
Is it simpler? No, not even actually.
Wait, you don't think
Okay,
that?
so you're denying that it's ontologically simpler. Okay, are you? So we do agree that there's no controversy in there being natural entities. Okay, is supernatural entity a unique type of existence? Yes, it is. Okay, is alien supernatural? No, it's not. Okay, so
But if they're doing all these things, if they're creating miracles, if they're creating planets, if they're doing this and that.
Is the theistic explanation committing you to new types of existence that are not natural that we share in our background? No, they're natural. Okay, well, theism commits you to supernatural. Okay, so what's unclear about which is the fact that the aliens is more parsimonious?
Here's what I think. I think that the
I'm asking you, you still agree that the aliens is not more parsimonious?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're going off on a tangent and we're talking about all of this. The aliens this, the aliens that. This is literally all a hypothetical.
Listen, the point is, do we disagree that the aliens is more
He doesn't
parsimonious?
understand.
He does understand, right? In fact, I can even get him to reproduce what the reason is, and I'm actually confident now that he could successfully do that. He clearly knows that the aliens is more parsimonious, right? He's just flipping and flopping.
Because
Do we agree? Hold on. Do we agree that the aliens is more parsimonious now?
even if it is, I don't see how it disproves it.
Wait, but if two hypotheses are equal ceteris paribus, so everything else held equal, and one is more parsimonious than another, then that hypothesis is a better explanation for the data. Now, that is true for the aliens. They have equal evidence, and presumably there's nothing else you can offer for theism for the miracles that somehow puts it in a better position.
Maybe try the money fairy or the shoe fairy. Maybe that'll help.
Well, that's about just those stories, right? I think we're both offering just those stories, but even then, even though I think both theism and alien, that's what I said from the very beginning. These are two really bad explanations, and I said this aliens explanation, which I think is a bad one, is still preferred to theism. Mm-hmm. So look, now that we agree mine's is more parsimonious and they have equal evidence, that's already you already lost the argument. But another thing to consider is the fact that aliens are more likely. Now we agree about that too, right? Because aliens are not disembodied.
No, because I know God is real. So and aliens might be real. I think it's
no. I'm asking you. We're not asking you if God exists. You can believe that. I'm asking you if we agree that it's more likely that a God exists than an alien, considering that aliens are not disembodied.
I think it's more likely that God exists than an alien. I think it's because I was an atheist once. I think it's dumb to say that.
How do you inform? Yeah, so let's ask you about this then. What exactly makes so we're talking about the probability of theism before any information. Mm-hmm. So not naming miracles, historical stuff, none of that. Mm-hmm. Just when we consider the probability of theism.
Yes.
For what reasons would you say it's more likely than aliens?
I say it's more likely than aliens just because of the world that we live on. I think it's very improbable to say, or not improbable, I don't think it's very smart to say, oh, this all came from nothing. Nothing was there.
Asking you, no. We're not asking you what you think is smart or not, or what people would say. Look, what your task is to do is name facts that we have in our background that makes something more likely, right? One thing that makes aliens more likely than theism is we have background information that all minds we're aware of are embodied. That's one fact. right? Another fact I can name is that we have in our background that for any given natural phenomena, that's also likely explained naturalistically, which aliens, again, are natural. So that's another motivation for them, right? We also are aware of something like, aliens that normally agents don't have incredibly powerful or incredibly high causal efficacy, so they don't have really strong causal powers to do things, right, with their will.
Here,
Right, which theism is a type of explanation where God has the power to will anything. He has the power to just causally do anything merely from his will. But aliens aren't, right? They're not just willing. They're using they're using technologies to produce these feats. Right?
but this is all assumption. This is all hypothesis.
No, none of these are assumptions. Obvious. That's like a joke to even say. These are facts that these are just background information that we are aware. We both share. We both share that most minds don't have the power to cause things merely from their volition, right? That no matter how strong they will something, that it comes to fruition, right? When I will something to happen, right, I have to actually, in order to enable that type of thing to come to fruition, I actually have to do tasks. Like if I want to build a house, I can't just keep willing it to happen and it comes to be. No, I have to act in building that thing. Theism commits you to where there's a being who doesn't have to do the act of building. His will allows things to come into fruition merely if he wills it, right? And we know background information that there aren't background entities that exist of the such.
You're applying human logic to God. That's why it's not making sense.
But now you just are like you're just doing dialectical slide because now you're just saying that we can't reason a theism.
That's not what I said. I said you're applying human logic to God, and so of course it's not going to make sense. God is above us. He's above. His ways are above our ways.
What is human logic? Does God have like this other different type of logic?
His ways are above our ways. His thoughts are above our thoughts. Yes.
Oh, so then, yeah, he's right. Then we just can't reason.
That's not what I said. It's not what I said at all.
He's not saying anything interesting. He's just saying he just wants to shut. He just wants to shut. He has no qualms with the reasoning. He doesn't think anything is wrong with the reasoning. He's just saying now that we can't apply like reasoning to theism because God's the type of thing we can't comprehend. Which is just obviously inconsistent with everything he's saying when he's like assessing the probability of theism and saying theism is likely.
Hold on, hot dog. When you come to the conclusion that God exists, are you using human logic? Yes. Or are you using this other sort of logic? Oh, okay. So then we can use.
He doesn't have a point.
Okay,
he's not saying anything. Look, the point is that is there anything I've said that was wrong in terms of my assessment of information and how that constrains the probability of a God?
Yes.
What
making assumptions about aliens and what technology they would have.
No, I'm not assuming any of that. I'm asking you what was one datum or information that we have in our background that allows me to assess the probability of God to be low. You said that I said something there that's wrong. I wasn't talking about aliens, and I'm not assuming anything about alien technology. Now I'm asking you what was one information that I named that apparently is wrong?
I mean, I don't know if any information that you said was wrong. I just had a problem with your
Wait,
reasoning.
but that just means what's wrong in the reasoning?
That you're assuming what technologies aliens have. Like, if an alien life came here and did whatever, like, we have no clue what they're capable of. So you're assuming that they are capable of doing everything that's in the Bible.
No, I'm not.
You're not.
You're really slow. Look, just use your brain for a moment. What I'm saying is that, yeah, you say that, but you're not. Look, the point is, I'm not assuming there's aliens with this technology. I'm just saying if there is the hypothesis, just the proposition, that there are aliens with this technology. I'm not assuming it. I don't even believe this now. So it couldn't be that I'm a bad argument. No. Just shut your mouth. You make no sense. You're saying I'm assuming it, but I don't even believe it. So it's not even possible. I'm assuming it. What I'm saying is just if we had that proposition that there's aliens with that technology, there's certain expectations that we would generate that would be evidence if those expectations came to fruition. All those expectations are identical to what Christian theism's expectations are. So those are the evidence for aliens. And given they're the exact same expectations for Christian theism, they have the exact same evidence. And now I'm saying, given they're evidentially equal, the reasons we prefer aliens is because, one, they're more likely before the evidence, and two, they're more simpler, they're more parsimonious.
I get what you're trying to say. Like, I get the point that you're trying to make.
I'm not saying a single wrong thing.
Right. I'm just failing to understand why even bring this up. Like, it sits on hypotheticals, and
it shows that you're rational for believing in theism given these facts. In fact, even considering really, because I think theism's really bad, and I just showed you how you're actually epistemically obligated, right, given the evidence and information you're aware of. Even considering bad theories, suppose you couldn't think of like actual good theories. This one theory I just showed you, you're actually now in a position to abandon theism, given if that's all the information. I'm saying merely considering that information, you actually should believe in aliens over theism.
No.
Well, yeah, obviously, because they're more parsimonious and
Yeah,
likely.
I've prayed to God and He's answered me. Aliens aren't doing that.
Well, that's just question begging again, but
He's just saying that.
And that's just out of the confines of the inference you're offering, right? We were just talking about miracles, and what hypothesis best explains that?
Jesus Christ, God. I think the evidence is right.
He's just
But
saying.
you've already agreed the evidence is equal.
Yeah.
So it can't be. You can't be saying the evidence is right there, and the evidence is also right there for aliens. Look, it's
could've been
like
the
if I
aliens.
had the hypothesis. Imagine we had like tire marks on a dirt road, and I had the hypothesis that it was done with a specific truck that's red, and someone else posits the hypothesis it's the exact same truck but blue, right? They just expect the same datum. Right? The datum being the prints in the dirt, right? They have the exact same tire structure, right? So I'm saying, and then I'm saying, imagine we knew we had background information that like red was like there's like some survey that shows that red's like everyone's favorite color, right? That information is a reason to think that it's more likely that there's red trucks, right?
And
And that's
I
an
do,
independent motivation that I've offered.
I do get what you're saying, and it actually is like it's not a bad argument at all. Like, it's one of the better arguments that I've heard, and I think that you've put together a great case. Whatever. I'm saying that even so, that depends on if you just look at the Bible, right? Like, if you just look at the Bible, now it's equally. Let's just say it's equally likely that both sides are correct, right? But I've literally prayed for God to stop the rain, and it's happened. Like that. Then that connects with the Bible. What the Bible says.
Aliens expects that same thing. Again, if aliens can produce all this, look, if aliens can like flood the earth or resurrect a human, stopping the rain, like obviously they have those feats. And again, they're just doing whatever you would expect if Christian theism was true. Right? So if you're saying that's expected of Christianity, then that's also expected of aliens. Aliens are more parsimonious and probable, and they expect the exact same thing. Again, you just offered another motivation for aliens instead. Right? You're just putting more datum that just offers a stronger case for aliens instead of theism.
No, you saying it's stronger doesn't make it any stronger.
No, we've both, I walked you through it, and you agreed that you're committing to supernatural, which is less parsimonious. And you had no, at least when I asked, you didn't have any qualms with the fact that aliens are not disembodied, and that's one reason to think aliens are more likely.
But okay, backtrack to what I said earlier when I was like, you're applying, human logic to God. I wasn't saying like human brain power reasoning. I was saying you're putting God in a human box. That's what I meant.
Yeah, you're just that whatever this is not an objection. You're just saying stupid stuff. I'm asking you, where do I go wrong in the contents of the reasoning? If the contents of the reasoning are sound, then they actually establish aliens over theism. You're making some stupid meta objection talking about I can't reason This doesn't even make any sense. You're not saying, like, just stop with, like, you know what you're doing is just like some dishonest little weasel tactic. The point just is, if we're reasoning to theism, I've offered you reasons against it, and instead of engaging with the contents of the reasoning, now you're just saying that there's a problem with just reasoning as a human to theism, which you are doing from the onset.
That's not what I was saying. That's not what
Okay, so then let's drop that bullcrap. And where do I go wrong in the reasoning that I've offered?
I already said it. You're making assumptions. Like you're saying, okay, well, if all
Am I assuming?
if all of this is true, then this is true. Well, yeah, duh. If this
It's not an assumption.
but that's
Not an assumption. That's deduced.
if you're assuming
Wait.
that it's true.
No.
In order for the theory to
I'm
hold
not
up.
assuming. I'm not assuming
Order
it's
for
true,
the
and I've
theory to
already.
hold up.
I'm not assuming it's true, and I've already explained that. I'm not assuming there are aliens. The point is, if there were aliens, so I'm not assuming it. Just if it were, that's just how evidential reasoning works. You're doing the exact same inferential strategy. You're doing the same thing. You're saying that if Christianity were true, we would expect the miracle accounts in Christianity to be real in the world. They are real in the world. Therefore, that's evidence for.
It's the other way around.
The other way around. The other way around would be question begging. This is how you just abductively reason, or reason evidentially.
What you're saying is,
And I'm doing the exact inferential strategy as you. When you say there's a problem with the way I'm reasoning the exact same way as you, and I'm saying that these reasons are privileging aliens instead of
you have
theism.
to read between the lines, and you're just assuming that aliens are here to deceive us, and that might not even be true.
No, I'm not assuming that. I'm saying that theism, the evidence you're offering, is also evidence for them.
No,
Why do you keep doing this?
because you could do that with anything, man. Like you're going out on a limb, and you're like, if I like
Objection there. You can do it for anything, okay?
that doesn't make it any less true or more true, right? Like the truth.
You can do it for anything doesn't make it any less true, okay? So what's the actual objection to the reasoning?
You're not looking at historical evidence. You're not looking at, like, you're just saying, well, if this, then this, so atheism is the way. But if we look at the historical account, it's saying something different. It's not saying, oh, there's aliens. It's saying God came down in human form and died for your sins. That's what it's saying.
That's exactly the evidence for aliens. Look, again, what do we expect? What do we expect if they're trying to deceive us? That, they would claim it's Christian theism and not them. Oh wait, but that's exactly what you would expect if the hypothesis was true. So it accommodates those statements, right? So it explains away with them.
Okay, fine. I mean, if you think that, I think that that's not as good of an explanation of God. And if
You're just a really bad reasoner. And you don't really have a grasp on how to, like, one, you don't grasp the type of inference that you yourself
I
are
get what
constructing.
you're saying. I just don't agree. And that's okay.
You
don't
keep
have to-
no, that's not true, because you're making objections to the inferential strategy and you're doing the exact same inferential strategy, right? So that couldn't be that.
I'm not inferring.
You're
I'm
not.
reading.
Wait. So,
I'm reading the Bible. Jesus
no. We're
died on
talking.
the
We're
cross.
talking. No. We're talking about We're talking about the inference from theism to the miraculous events.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's an inference. That's a reasoning,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Genius. Bro, you're saying the support for Christian theism was that, and now you're saying you're not making an inference. What does it mean to support it if not an inference?
If God says, I am here,
Your whole point,
I did
your
this.
whole point was that's a reason supporting that.
Yes.
And then you're saying, yeah, that's what it means for it to be an inference.
You're looking too hard into it. Like I said, I think that this is a good argument. This is one of the better arguments that I've
Yeah,
heard.
you just sound incredibly unreasonable and dishonest at that.
I'm complimenting you.
Yeah,
You're
well,
good
it
at
doesn't
arguing.
matter. It doesn't
You're
matter
good
if
at
you're
arguing.
complimenting.
I'm
It
giving
doesn't
you
matter.
your flowers.
It doesn't matter if you're complimenting me when you're like dishonest in a really poor reason.
I'm not being dishonest. I'm being honest. I think
You're
that
being
this is a good argument.
dishonest. Okay,
And I also think-
so.
But I also
Yeah,
think
but
that if
Maybe
you're, going
you're just
with this-
lost
No,
and not dishonest.
you're not. You're letting me talk.
I would expect that you're like aware of the reasoning you yourself are doing, and then when you make objections to the inference that you and I are both doing, and then say there's a problem with that, either you're just being
That's not the
inconsistent
same
or
way
you're
that I
being
came to the
dishonest.
conclusion that God is real. That's not how I came to the conclusion.
I'm talking about that was the reasoning done in the dialectic when we're talking about miraculous events to theism. That's the same inference. Yeah, that's the same inference.
Okay. Still, you're looking at this and you're creating some hypothesis, and that doesn't. It's not disproved by the historical evidence. So
Yeah,
both
I'm
could
not-
be equally true.
hold
Let's
on.
just leave it at that, man. Both could be equally
No,
true.
they're not equally true. I've offered support that mine's is preferred, and you have no objection.
All right.
I've already. Look
Whatever.
again.
Like I
there's
said,
two.
like-
Again,
You're putting together a good argument.
Tell-
I'm not
tell me
going
where.
to.
Just tell me where I go wrong. There's 2 points. That my hypothesis is more parsimonious, and the prior probability is greater than yours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So which of those two do you disagree with?
Say it again.
Which of those two do you disagree with? Potentially, you would have to disagree with both, because if either of those are true, that just means mine's is
Can you say? I didn't hear that part.
that mine's is more parsimonious and it's more probable before considering the evidence, right? The prior
I
probability.
think that
is greater.
even if both of those are true, that doesn't make it less or more true. It doesn't make it a better theory, yes, but is it the truth? No.
You're saying that if there's 2 points in favor of it being more probable, that doesn't mean it's more probable. What does that even mean?
I didn't say that. I said, is it more probable? Yes, but that doesn't make it any less or more true.
What does more true mean?
So science, for example, right? Because this is what science is about. Asking hypotheses and proving, right?
There's no such thing as more true. The point just is that if we're considering which one you're justified in believing, if you're aware that it's more probable, then you're not justified in believing the explanation that you
It
adopted.
being more probable isn't a reason to credit or discredit it.
That trivially is.
Listen,
Trivially,
If
you should believe an explanation that's more likely. Look, if I had the hypothesis it's raining, and the account for how it's raining is like some standard account, with tenets of meteorology, right? Like forecasting, understanding of how rain clouds form, versus the hypothesis that there's Zeus who's making it rain. Clearly,
But
if
sometimes
I can clearly establish that Zeus is less likely, and that would show that you're irrational for believing in Zeus.
right.
You
but-
show that given the information, you are doing something wrong when you believe in Zeus over the.
There are things in
Standard
this world that exist that make less sense than the other thing. Quantum physics, for example, right? Something doesn't exist until you observe it. That makes less sense than it always exists. But it's
We're not
true.
talking about makes less sense. I want to get into that because I'm not even like someone
if-
who I would act as if I'm like
My
confident in quantum
my
physics.
understanding of it is very rudimentary, but it still.
Well, I would say it's
Like-
less than that, but so is mine. So.
But you get what I'm trying to say, though. But like even something that happens on
No,
Earth.
I think you're just saying nonsense, and you're just
All right.
clearly wrong.
Well, we can agree to disagree. I know that God is real, and I came here to talk about it. I was asking questions about his claims, and then it was a good discussion. It was a good discussion. I'm not like you had a good argument. I'm not upset about that. I think that you're, like I said, you're making assumptions that don't necessarily like.
I'm not making assumptions. There you go with the dishonesty again.
I'm not. That's what I think.
You know that I'm not making any assumptions. Don't act like you believe that and you're like justified in believing that.
No,
You're clear-
because like I said, there are things that happen in the world that are less probable than what actually, or that are less probable than what you think would happen, right? So why can't that same logic apply to God?
Talking about that. What are you talking about?
In science, right? Like humans have a theory. Oh, photons are a wave, right? But they're actually a wave and a particle. They can be both. That seems less probable then
It
what?
seems less probable is not establishing it's less probable. You would have to show me how it's less probable.
But that's what you're trying to say, that one is less probable than the other. That even in the world, that things that we know are true, things might seem more or less probable.
You
Than
should
what
like stop acting like your judgments in terms of probability makes any sense because you know you don't understand.
I might not be able to educate it. I think the logic still holds.
No, it's not. It's not a matter of well educated. You're not like aware of any like standard ways of like reasoning probabilistically. You have no idea what you're saying.
No, the logic still holds up.
You're talking about things seeming more likely, and I doubt you even know how to calculate probabilities. And then you're saying like it doesn't matter if you believe something's improbable. That's not like a justification to not believe it, which is like disagreed in like every academic profession, including science and philosophies. That if a proposition that's not as a known fact, we can consider it and it's shown to be really unlikely, that's not a motivation to disbelieve it. That just makes no sense.
But there have been things that people said weren't probable and didn't believe in. The Big Bang. When the Big Bang was first like proposed, everyone was like, "No, that doesn't make any sense. That's not how it works."
You keep saying it doesn't. No. You keep saying it doesn't make sense, and then you're saying it's not probable. Look, the Big Bang, the Big Bang wasn't improbable before that theory came up. There's no information that makes the Big Bang improbable before the theory was engineered. You're talking about people's psychology. You're talking about if the theory didn't make sense or was counterintuitive. That's different from it being improbable. There's no information that we had in our background that influenced the calculation of the Big Bang theory before it was like matured as an official theory. There's no. What are you talking about? You keep saying it doesn't make sense to people. First, the theory always made sense insofar as it's like comprehensible. If you just mean like laymen didn't find it intuitive or something, or even maybe it's true that empirically most scientists when it first came out thought it was counterintuitive. That doesn't matter. Counterintuitive doesn't mean it's improbable. You're not making any sense.
Theism in general is improbable.
Yeah, of course. But I've already explained how the
Yeah, and you explained that. You're saying that theism is just as probable as aliens.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
You're saying it's less probable.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I think way less.
Whatever. I'm not here to convince you. I'm bored, man. But I mean, well, this isn't really getting anywhere. I'm not really. You had a good point, man. I don't know what else I can say to you. Good talk. I hope the Lord comes to you and shows you that he's there. God bless you. I love you, man.
Yeah, I hope you read a book and become like an honest reasoner and like a reasonable reasoner.